How's it going, everyone? Chris here with something a little bit different. I know recently there's been a couple of comments saying that people are getting bored of the Call of Duty Weapon Guide series, so I thought I'd do something a little bit different this time. So I saw this demo. It was I originally saw it on Facebook. One of my old friends posted up a link to it, and I found it on the Xbox Marketplace and decided to give it a go. It's Warhammer 40K, the Space Marine game, and being an ex-Warhammer 40K nerd, I just had to give it a go. So I used to have a full army of Space Marines, the Ultramarine chapter, just like you play in this game. I started playing it in the 90s sometime, just before the models were redesigned from the old snap fit models. And I had a couple of friends near where I used to live who also collected. One of my friends around the corner, he had a full army of Eldar elves, and we used to go around and play with about 6 to 8 other guys in one of their garages where he had some huge tabletops, and we used to play big battles. So definitely had to give this game a go. I have to also dig out my little army of Space Marines and find them again. I think they're stored away in a box somewhere. So this game is obviously based on that Warhammer 40K tabletop game. I don't know if anyone else out there is a fan or used to play the game. In this video game version, you play a Space Marine called Titus, and you essentially go running around a planet battering orcs, just like I'm doing in this section now. This is the end of the demo where you kind of battle against a whole army or horde of orcs. In this section I'm armed, as you can see, with a chainsaw and a bolt pistol, but there's around about 15 different weapons apparently that you can play with throughout the game. In this demo you only get the bolt pistol and the chainsaw, but in the second section you also get to play around with a jetpack where you can fly around and crush orcs from above. But the chainsaw itself is pretty satisfying to use. It's great just to chop orcs to bits and chop limbs off, and it's got quite a cool sound effect to it. It sounds like a cross between an angle grinder and some sort of motorcycle. So control wise it's pretty simple to get the hang of. You don't really need to learn how to play it. I did change the controls in the settings to one that suited Call of Duty a little bit more, with the reload button is the X button, but otherwise the fire button is the right trigger, just like in Call of Duty. You can aim with the left trigger, and then you can use the chainsaw as the right bumper. And there's also the buttons where you can stun and execute the enemies, which is a little bit like Batman Arkham Asylum, if you played that. You know, when you're surrounded by baddies and you just kind of press the buttons, and it just makes the character do all the moves himself. So I've got to say, it's pretty cool beating down orcs with those cool moves. It's very satisfying. It's like a kind of a mix between the 300 movie and like that Batman game, where it kind of jumps in and out of slow motion. I think there's maybe a little bit too much blood and gore for my liking, simply because I like to be able to see the actual moves, and in some cases when you're tearing up orcs that are surrounding you, half the screen's kind of filled with a red mist and you can't really see what's going on, but I'm sure there's some sort of option to turn that down. I'm sure the majority of gamers do love that kind of thing. So otherwise, I mean, the demo did start getting a little repetitive as you go on, because basically you just move along the map and just fight against horde after horde of orcs, either with your gun or with your chainsaw. You seem to have unlimited ammo, but you do have to continuously reload when you're using the bolt pistol, but you can always run in and tear them up with your chainsaw. You do get a couple of more difficult orc characters as you go along. In the demo there's these like a tougher type. We've got this big axe who killed me a couple of times during the first go I had it, because I'm pretty rubbish at single player games. This was obviously on easy to make me look good. But I'm guessing there's going to be all sorts of tougher types of bad guys who you encounter as you go along in the game, so hopefully that'd keep it interesting. So as for the gameplay, you'll see there's like a kind of power bar at the top, which is your health. Obviously you lose health whenever you get hit by an orc or some sort of bullet, or take an axe to the head. The only way to regain your health is to execute orcs. So when you're in battle, you'll notice in these clips there'll be a little B button, and what you have to do is stun the enemies, then press the B button to execute, which is when you do like an awesome animation where your guy either tears them apart with his chainsaw or stomps on the head. We could really have done with a squad of Space Marines for the UK riots. I can just imagine a group of these guys battering groups of yobs like this, so that would have been pretty cool. So otherwise you also get like a little fury gauge in the bottom left, and what happens with that is that fills up over time, and then when it's full and it starts flashing, you can go into fury mode, which obviously makes you super badass, and you can go on a rampage tearing up baddies when you're surrounded. So as for downsides, I guess the only thing that really put me off was all the orcs. They seem to be played by characters from EastEnders, which for anyone outside the UK is a soap opera based in London. They all seem to have like a Cockney accent, and there's not really that many quotes that they come out with. It's more like Space Marine, kill them Space Marines. I would have really expected an orc to be a little bit more beastly, like you get in Lord of the Rings. But these ones in the game, I can just imagine them trying to sell me something if I get too close. But I don't know. I mean, I'm used to playing the tabletop games and reading about them and seeing pictures, so I never really experienced any in animated form. So that was the main downside for me. I think all around the graphics are pretty cool, the environment's pretty cool. It's exceptionally cool running around as a Space Marine. They did a great job of like getting the impression of a Space Marine's size and weight, and like I mentioned, all the battles have kind of that 300 movie style to them, where it kind of flipped in and out of slow motion and you get all those cool moves. So just start getting a little bit repetitive, like I mentioned, with the hordes of orcs one after another, but hopefully if you started the game from the start and went through the story, it'd stay interesting, and you know, the new things unlocked as you go along. Like I mentioned in the second section, you get that jetpack, which is pretty cool. So I'm not too sure. Otherwise, it would be cool if you got some of the other things from the old tabletop games, like the Dreadnought, or some sort of you know, the heavier weight weapons, or if you got to play like a Terminator or something like that. So don't know. So I think the game itself comes out in September this year, which is just before all the major ones come out in like November, near to Christmas. So the demo is out now for, I think it's for all three platforms, PlayStation, Xbox and PC, so definitely give it a go. It's about 1.5 gig even for the Xbox, which is not too bad, doesn't take too long to download, and you get those 2 levels, so it's worth a go if you've got a spare evening, you want to do something a little bit different. So strap on your Space Marine suit and go kicking some orc ass. So I hope you enjoyed this little video. It's something a little bit different. I think I'll be going back to my Call of Duty next. So let me know. Do you like these little bits of game reviews or things like that? So let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all later.